Oy Zayin. Hine, Gama Chochma. Also Chochma, which is Bechinas Kadmus HaSeichel, which is the level of the earliest of Seichel. The Shoyrish of Chochma. Liyois Shoyrish Umoker HaSeichel, since it is a root and a source for the intellect, so we have to say Shehi Bebechinas Mitzias, that the Seichel is already an entity. The Kemoy Shah-Seichel Mitzias Shemechutz Lanefesh, just like the intellect itself is an entity which is outside of the soul, something separate of the soul. Similarly to this is also the root of Seichel, which is Kadmus HaSeichel. This is the advantage of Rotzin over Seichel, Gamal Kadmus HaSeichel, also on the earlier of Seichel, the Shoyrish of Seichel. Rotzin Eine Mitzias La'atzmi. Rotzin isn't an entity for itself. Kol in Yonehu, and the entire idea of Rotzin, who had Toyas, Bamshochas HaNefesh, is tilting and moving the soul. V'lochein, and therefore, Harotzin Moishel, V'shoylet al kol hakoyches. That's why the Rotzin dominates and rules all the power. It also has superiority and dominates the power of intellect because it's higher. It's the nefesh itself. As our sages tell us, person should always study there which is hard desires. Was that through warning that who may even by he understands it in a different way. And since Rotzin is higher than even the root of Seichel, Kadmus HaSeichel, like said earlier, so therefore the impact that becomes in the Seichel through the Rotzin, so Rotzin is higher and impacts not just Seichel, but the Shoyrish HaSeichel, Kadmus HaSeichel. Therefore, the addition to the Seichel, which comes through the Rotzin, is a lot more than the addition that takes place through Dibur. Ki ha'hisofa shal yidei hadibur. The sofa that comes from dibur, by speaking, is neisha hadibur ma'ir shoyrish haseichel, is because the speech arouses, wakes up, touches into the root of seichel. Umikivan shegam shoyrish haseichel umitzia is v'yesh b'tzir, and since the root of seichel is also an entity and there is a shape there lachein ha'hisofa shal yidei hamshachas hashoyrish. So therefore, the addition that comes through bringing down, drawing down the shoyrish, it's a measure and a limit. As opposed to when the addition of the seichel, which comes through rotzin, it is not so measured. Since the impact of the rotzin is also on the root of the seichel. So it's not just adding the root of seichel to the seichel, which is a metzias, but pulas harotzin impacts the root of seichel. Similar to this, we understand above. When we make great, bigger, the name Adnai, there's two ways. Adnai, the increase in Adnai alidation that takes place through drawing down in it from the power of Adnai. Ukumuvali Besiv Gimel brought down earlier so Gimel Kamadrush the Pirush Yigdal Koyach Adnai, that the meaning of let the power of Adnai increase who should tia Hagdola Ba'adnai Al Yidei Sheyumshach Ba'akoyach Shaloi. That is increasing in Adnai by bringing down its koyach. That is Shorshoy Umekoyroi. That is its root of Moker. That's one way. That's the Yigdal Koychoy. That is already from the root of the of Adnai through his Shoydish Moker of Adnai. Vakdol Adnai de Hamshocham Mibchinas Hasoiviv, but the increase making Adnai grace by bringing down from the level of Sev Shalom Maila Mishtal Shalus. There's the Seviv who do Masarot, that is Samutarot. Dagdola Zui, Nailis Yesa, this is even a greater increase. Mikivon Sheh Hagdola Zu, that increase, Igam Bekoyach Adnai, that's also the power of Adnai, Hashoirish Adnai. Okay, Pirush Apo should be Yigdal Koyach Adnai. As the simple meaning, Yigdal Koyach Adnai is not that Koyach should be in Adnai, but Shetia Agdola Bekoyach Adnai. The power of Adnai should get the increase. The Shoyr should get the increase. That will be an increase from Seviv Kula Almi. Ches. In a kol in Yonim Shel Mailo, all matters of above Hamshachos B'Ali De Avedis Odom, how are they drawn down through the service of men? Zehu Va'ata Yigdal Neikoch Adnai Kasher Dvert Lamer. Let the koyach adnai increase as you have spoken, saying the kasher dvert koyi al had dibur dakodesh baruch hu l'Moshe. Kasher dvert is like you have said the dibur of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. You should help me. That's the lamer. Shemoshe yomer titzlach ma'alach techo. That Moshe should say, "Let your work be successful." That means that the increase of the power of Adnai that takes place through the service of man. Amiras Moshe. Moshe is saying it. Tislach malachtach. How you do a based on what is known. Shavuda so odom isarus so dilatato. Shal yodo nimshach nasis hamshach esarus dilela. That when we have an awakening from below, an arousal from below, through which we accomplish, we make up a hamshach to draw down. Serusu de leilo, tzricha liyismein hamshacha. That is serusu de letata, needs to be somewhat of that hamshacha, similar. Move on. It's understood. In order to have an increase of the koyach adnai, which is mamalim, by drawing down into the memale from the seviv, which is higher than the ishtalshus, it's through the increase, making big, service which is based on the reason and knowledge, by drawing down and revealing the service which is higher than reason and das. Tanya is similar to what it's explained in Tanya, that the observance and the sustaining of Torah mitzvahs totally hinges on this. Tamid inyan mesidas nafshe lahavaya, to always remember his self-sacrifice to Hashem. By remembering the concept of self-sacrifice, which is higher than the level of ishtalshus by the Odom, giving up your life, which is more than the rational and ishtalshus of the Odom. That brings about an increase and greatness, making bigger the observance of Torah mitzvahs, which is the level of ishtalshus in the person. More specifically, we can say In order to be drawing down this Seven the Hagdola in the power of Adnai, tzorich l'kasher ha'avoida shalamayla mitam vadas. So we should tie this avoida, which is higher mitam vadas, in bechinas kadmus haseichel, with the level of the earlier of the seichel, the shoyrish haseichel. This is what our sages of blessed memory say. One who answers and says Amen Yesh Merabba Mevarach with all of his might, with all his power, they would tear up for him a decree of 70 years. What does it mean? He says Yesh Merabba B'chol Koichai. Two explanations. Pirush and Rashi says B'chol Koichai B'chol Koyach Kavanose. That means with his full power of intent of the kavanah. He should say with full kavanah, full intention. Pirush HaTosus and Tosus says B'kol Ram with a loud voice. We can say the explanation of this. By saying Omesh Rabbi hold you power, that brings about the increasing of the power of Adnai. The Shmei Rabba who Shmoi Hagodol. When you say Yehei Shmei Rabba, that's what is the Shmei Rabba? What's the Eibishter's great name? That's Shmei Hagodol. That's his big name, which is Soivev Shalomaylo Mihishtalshus. That is higher than Ishtalshus. Shayidei Hamshochas HaSoivev. That when we are mamshich the Shmei Rabba, we bring down the Soivev Nasa Gdolos Koyach Adnai Kinal. That increases the power of Adnai through lives higher than Ishtalshlus in Ishtalshlus. V'lochein Ayidei Amiras Omen Yehi Shmei Rabba, and that's why when you say Omen Shmei Rabba, Koydim Lo Gzar Dinei Shalayim Shona. You rip up for the person his decree of 70 years. The Gzar Din, the reason why the person has a decree of 70 years, that is because he blemished in the name Adnai. By day Hagdolas Koyach Adnai, and then but by increasing the power of Adnai is Nistakin Hapgap, that fixes the blemish. So in order to fix it, we have to bring it down to the koyach. We need the Shmei Rabba to come down to the koyach of Adnai. How do we bring down the Hamshocha and the Shmei Rabba into the level of koyach Adnai? While Yidei Shnei Yonim does two aspects, the Perushim, the B'chol Koychai, in the interpretation role of his power. The whole kavanah, when we say with all of his kavanah, the libo, that is the intention of the desire of the heart, which is higher than reason and rationale, which is higher than the ishtalshus of the person. That's his way of bringing down the roots of the libo. The Kol Ram, which is the dibur that brings the kadmus haseichel. So you have the rotzin, and you have the Kol Ram. You have the dibur, which brings about the kadmus haseichel. Hasherish the ishtalshus, which is the root of ishtalshus. Through the fact that his intention is not just in thought, but comes through a loud voice, that's the way the Hamshocha of Shmei Rabba comes into the power of Adnai.